Listeners, welcome to Speak Your Truth at Alive 90.5 with Pray. Today, we are talking about something that has been a game changer for personal and professional growth. We call this EQ. What is this EQ? It is emotional intelligence. You probably heard the term, but what does it really mean? And why does it really matter? Emotional intelligence is all about understanding and managing our emotions while also being aware of others' feelings. Really very important. Studies show that people with high EQ often have better relationships, excel at work, and cope with stress more effectively. In a world like today, this is what we want as human beings to achieve. So here's the big question. Are we born with it or can we actually improve it? So I met somebody that I felt would be really fantastic to answer this because I wanted someone who was really in touch with human beings rather than behind a book, but really connect with people and understand this space well. For that, we have Sister Ananya in the studio. Sister Ananya, welcome.
Thanks for having me in the studio. Thank you so much.
So I am going to make sure that I'm going to explain a little bit around Sister Ananya, why I thought she will be great for talking about this subject matter. So a little bit about her. She is a young aspirational Raja Yoga meditation teacher and practitioner at brahmakumaris spiritual organization, which is the world's largest female-led spiritual organization for both men and women. It runs on the premise, inner transformation brings outer transformation, which interestingly is exactly what we are talking about today. She's a meditation practitioner and teacher whose wisdom bridges the best of European or Western practicality versus Eastern spirituality. Sister Anya brings her deep spiritual insights with her professional background as an environmental officer, so she has very much in touch with day-to-day, real-day life, and she serves the community by conducting meditation sessions in different parts of Australia, I believe since 2018. Currently based at the Brahmakumari Meditation Centre, Western Melbourne, whether through her teachings on emotional healing, fostering harmony in relationships, or creating balance in the world around us, she brings clarity and peace to anyone seeking a deeper connection with themselves and others through Raja Yoga meditation. So, Sister Ananya, can I ask you, what is emotional intelligence?
This is a beautiful subject to talk about and discuss, and I think we need more discussions like this in our society today. Emotional intelligence is precisely emotional fitness. Just like when we are taking care of our body and we want to be physically fit, we take care of our diet, we take care of our routine. We are very mindful of when I'm sleeping, what I'm watching, when I'm watching, all of these aspects that are part of my lifestyle. So we take care of our lifestyle outside when we consider physical fitness. So similarly, now we're talking about emotionally being fit. And so being emotionally fit means that if there's a challenging situation outside, or I'm in a very close relationship, and in that close relationship, the people that I care for and I love, they are going through a hard time or a challenge. And I am able to step out of that situation. I am able to be detached emotionally. And the more I'm emotionally detached, I can offer help, I can offer love, and I can offer care. Now, as an example, sometimes when our loved ones, they're not well. Let's say there is a child in Australia and they're by themselves. This is a teenager. Let's talk about a teenager. They're in Australia, they're studying here, and their parents are in Europe. They're in UK. And so something happens to the mother. In some cases, I've heard that the mother will say to their neighbors that I won't tell this to my child because, when they hear about this, they're going to be very disturbed. Yes?
That's a natural reaction of a mother.
Yes.
To protect your young ones.
Your child.
Yes.
And so, in reality, my closed ones, whenever I'm going through a hard time, we are talking about a physical illness here, do we feel that it should be, we are able to very openly share with our parents and without being concerned that they'll get worried or they'll get more hurt than me and more worried than I am? So at this time, when the mother is sick, what does she need? What does she actually need? She needs love, she needs care, she needs acceptance. And how can we create that environment of love, care, and acceptance when there is no worry, there is no blame? And so, me, in that situation, if I'm able to share it with my parents or my loved ones, and I am sure that they won't get disturbed, they won't get worried, but they are actually able to have acceptance, and they are there to support me, they are there to help me go through this challenge. So what would you consider as being emotionally fit? Which situation would you prefer personally?
Well, I mean, for me, like what I kept on thinking as you were saying this around the example that you gave is that self-awareness and self-regulation piece.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Okay.
And that to me, emotional intelligence has a lot to do with how do we actually self-regulate and how self-aware are we? And also it showed a certain amount of empathy as well. And to me, they're skills that we definitely need to develop over time. Would you say?
Yes, definitely. And in those times that you needed the most support, think of a situation where you wanted complete acceptance, complete love and care. And for some reason, you're in a situation where you're not able to offer that for yourself. So there are people, when we are low, we usually go to someone who can listen to us, care for us, accept us, right? And so why do we go to a third person? Sometimes in the world that we are living in right now, in the relationship of parent and child, parents try and convince their children that we are your best friends, and they are at many levels. But a child still prefers to share their personal and very close things that are very personal to them with a stranger, with a therapist, with someone online. It's very easy for a child to actually go and share it to someone they haven't even met. It can be online, it can be over other social media, but not parents. Why do you think that happens?
Well, it's more than emotional intelligence. It's actually, I'm wondering also if a parent's ability to be able to be open to discussing the child's needs in a more accepting manner, so to speak. In a way, it does actually speak to emotional intelligence because you really have to be very self-aware as a parent.
Yes.
To be able to do that. Now I'm starting to understand a little bit more what you're actually saying. I had to really think about it. And also to be able to self-regulate, not only be able to self-regulate, but also to show your child that you're able to self-regulate, for them to be able to come to you. Firstly, that makes me think it's more than anybody else. It's about you looking inside and making those changes for yourself.
Yes, and for a very common reason why we prefer to go to someone that we are not very close with, we are not very personally connected with, or we don't even know, is because they are detached. They're not attached. And so for someone who is attached, we know that if I share something that is not right and I've done that, there's going to be instantly, there is an energy of rejection maybe, there's an energy of questions, complaints, blame. And so because of that attachment, so we confuse love and attachment. And so emotional fitness is to be able to be detached. And when I'm detached, I'm completely accepting of where you are, who you are, and whatever your journey is. And because of that, no matter what, I can offer love. And so emotional fitness is to be able to offer that love and acceptance to whoever we meet, regardless of their journey, regardless of their actions.
It's interesting because I think you just put another layer on to what I was already thinking. I was thinking quite surface level that we often let our emotions drive our decisions, right? And this particular example as well, who are the closest people to us really? Our families. And I always say, if there's one group that actually presses our buttons, that is our families, right? So it sounds like having that emotional or calling upon emotional intelligence and improving that emotional intelligence becomes even more important.
Yes.
Because as you're saying, take the emotion out of the discussion, as I understand. Is that what you mean?
Yes, emotion is, by definition, energy in motion. Yes. And wherever there is attachment, so every thought is an energy. Yeah. But wherever there is attachment means I already have an idea of how you should be. Yeah. I have an idea of who you should be, how you should be, and that's attachment. Yeah. And so if you fall, if you're going through something, then I am naturally in that low state of mind. Yeah? So if you're suffering, if there's a situation and you're suffering, so attachment means that I have no choice, but I've put myself in a position where I have to suffer. There's no other choice. Now, emotional fitness is that we are in a relationship, something has happened, and you're maybe not feeling okay, and I am able to step out of that situation. I'm able to be in a different perspective, in a higher perspective, and offer you that. So my emotional fitness means that I'm able to bring you, help you to tap into your fitness as well. So sometimes, people who are physically very fit, they would tell you, oh, don't eat this, this is not going to be good for you. And so this is emotional fitness, that I'm able to be in a different energy. And sometimes we misinterpret attachment as love. So if I'm suffering and I see you, happy about, you're very happy during the day, and I tell, you're not even worried, don't you love me? No, I just had an exam and I had an interview that I didn't pass, and you're all happy and you're going about your day as if nothing has happened. Don't you love me? And so we have to ask ourselves, is it love that when I'm worried, you need to be worried? When I'm hurting, you need to be hurting. And this is how we define love, which is a good idea. When we think about it, it seems quite fancy. But when I look at really what do I need in that moment, I'm worried, I'm hurt. What I actually need is to feel supported, to feel loved, to feel confident. And when I'm not able to do that for myself, emotionally fit individual can bring me to that level of awareness. Yeah. So we don't need a society where we're all hurting, we're all worried, we're all aggressive, but we need a society that we're able to uplift each other, and that's empowerment, right?
I definitely love what you just said, because I think you gave some really beautiful anecdotal examples of what I was envisaging as the 5 components of emotional intelligence. Actually, that was for me what I said earlier, which is around that self-awareness, around that self-regulation, yes, motivation, empathy, social skills. And I think you nailed it into almost a really very simple sentence. I almost feel like I was overthinking this, but it's been, I loved what you just said.
Yeah, this is wonderful. And the beauty is that, truth is very simple. Yeah. And who we are, our essence is very, simplicity. And so everything about us is quite simple. But the more attachments we have, the more ideas we are attached to, that makes our thinking complicated. And so emotional fitness means that let me come out of those self-created ideas, let me step back for some time and actually think what will raise my vibration here, what will bring me to a higher vibration. And because whenever I'm in a higher vibration, anything that's happening inside, anything that is happening at this level, at the level of body, situations, challenges, or same things happening in someone else's life, in a higher vibration, in a position where I'm when I put myself in a better position, in a higher position, let's just say a higher perspective, then I'm able to see all the challenges and I'm able to pass through them quite easily. Whereas if I'm stuck in that, then emotionally I will drain myself. Yes? So we have to just see what we are doing in a way of thinking, or maybe what we are reading, what we are listening, that is causing us to drain our energy. And once we look at those things, we can eliminate it from our mental diet. Emotional fitness is all about taking care of our mental diet. So mental diet includes, what do I think? What do I listen to? What do I watch? What do I read? All these things, that is adding up to my perspective on the outer world and myself and my relationships.
Beautifully put, Sister Anya. I would like you to stay on if you don't mind, because we talked earlier when we were having the chat about this around a really important matter, which is one of the ways that we can actually increase our emotional intelligence or fix some of these, fix some of our shortcomings in a way, thinking shortcomings at times. So listeners, don't go away. We have a golden nugget from Sister Anya next. Stay on and we will be right back. At Speak Your Truth Today with Pri at Alive 90.5, I'm talking to Sister Anya, who has actually given me a very different perspective to how I started this chat. And I said that to Sister Anya, you really threw me, because you're a different thinker and we love different thinkers on this show, Sister Anya. And I did tell you I had very much a particular script that I wanted to discuss with you, and you challenged me and you said to me, actually, Pri, have you thought about approaching this slightly differently? Then I was reminded that I better put my EQ hat on and really start to listen to what Sister Anya is saying, particularly given her background around what she does, around people's wellness, so to speak.
Yeah.
So, Sister Anya, now that I have changed my script, can I ask you, something that's been playing on my mind is anger. How does anger play into emotional intelligence? And I'm also going to ask you, is there some way we can increase emotional intelligence? So first anger and then increase in the emotional intelligence. What are your thoughts?
Yes. So, when we talk about emotional fitness, there are certain emotions, there are certain energies which make us feel uncomfortable. We may identify with them. I may identify myself as a warrior, as a emotionally very sensitive person. I cry a lot, like a crier, all these we can identify. Even with anger, even with this emotion of anger, I can tell myself that I'm an angry person. It's very easy for me to get angry. But if you look at these labels that I'm identifying with, all these emotions, do they make me feel comfortable or uncomfortable? Although I may justify that I am living those emotions on a regular basis, but do I feel comfortable or do I feel uncomfortable? Anger, do you feel that once we get angry, if you've ever, experienced this emotion of anger, how does it make you feel after that? Do you feel like, I want to do this again tomorrow? Let me get super angry again. Or personally, whenever you've just been experienced frustration, anger, aggression, how did that make you feel?
I was hoping you actually didn't ask me that question. Truth of the matter is, mind you, I read something somewhere or in a podcast, I can't remember it was, and I thought, how true is this saying? Is getting angry at someone is like drinking a cup of poison and hoping the other person would die.
Fantastic.
I thought I chuckled at the time, and every time I do get angry, not every time, that's not true. Sometimes it's uncontrollable. No, you're about to tell me it is controllable. I try to remind myself that, catch myself at it to try and stop it, but I do have a point of escalation. And I guess that's one of the reasons I chose you, Sister Anya, to please help me. And I know there are people in the community like me too. How do I control this beast that comes to haunt me time to time?
Yes. And so the reason I asked that question was, because something that I'm identifying with, we also make it very normal. So we, at this time and age that we're living, we almost, say this quite openly, that it's impossible to function without anger. And so an emotion that is making me feel so uncomfortable. And as you said, it's like drinking a glass of poison. So, and the mind becomes poisonous. Different manifestations of anger are blaming, complaining, feeling very desperate, feeling revengeful. All these are manifestations of anger. And this makes us feel incredibly uncomfortable. No one wants to be in that, feeling of where you're constantly complaining, constantly blaming. And when we talk about gratitude, how that makes us feel, how it uplifts us. And on the other side, it's complaining about the government or the roads or the people or the religions, all of this. It actually, that may be a habit, but it drains us emotionally. So first thing that we understand here, why we're having this discussion on anger, is that it's not healthy. If something makes me feel uncomfortable, it's not healthy for me. And once I am able to say this to myself, that it's not healthy, then I can stop normalizing it. And it's very important for us to stop normalizing that, because for any emotion that we say, sometimes we ask people, do you get angry? And the answer is, everyone gets angry. So it's not about me, but immediately it's about everyone gets angry. And so when I say everyone does that, then automatically I give myself the permission to do that. And it's not just that I give myself the permission, but I give myself permission unapologetically, like I'm not responsible for it. So first we have to say, even though everyone does that, I have to understand the consequences of it. So firstly, it's making my mind uncomfortable. If I have anger on my mind, I'm not able to focus. Sometimes we're not able to fall asleep. We're not able to concentrate on what I'm doing. We feel, someone can be lying on a bed 24/7 in a hospital bed and getting angry. And what happens is they haven't done anything that day, but they still feel so tired. Sometimes we wake up feeling tired.
So you're talking about the physical aspect of this emotion?
Yes, that it drains mental energy, which has an impact on physical energy. So when anger is an emotion, that is draining me mentally and it impacts me physically. What is the cause of anger? So first we understood the consequences of anger. So it immediately has a consequence on my physical body, my mental ability to think, focus. And also then it obviously it's going to come in my relationships as well. If there is an angry mind in the house, just imagine 4 people, one is in this anger zone, it naturally makes other 3 uncomfortable. It makes them feel they have to be very careful of what they're saying, and so it's not authentic. It puts people in a very inauthentic position. So we have to understand these are the consequences, and it's not normal. It's not normal. So when I tell myself it's not normal, I can easily work on getting rid of it.
So are you also saying, Sister Anya, that controlling your anger is part of improving your emotional intelligence as well?
Emotional intelligence, physical, fitness as well.
So you said to me there is something that people can practice that's quite effective, quite simple and affordable, reachable. That would be a really great way to increase one's emotional intelligence as well as reduce one's anger, which you clearly seem to demonstrate, which is, we all know anger is not a great thing. So what is this particular practice that you wanted to talk to today to the listeners about?
Yes, through meditation, we can increase our emotional fitness. And knowledge of meditation, what meditation is, how it is done. So once, this is the reason why we are trying to understand anger and its consequences, and also what actually causes anger. So it is always the seed of any emotion that is making me feel uncomfortable. Any uncomfortable emotion, now we know from this conversation that it's not good for me mentally, not good for me physically, and it's not good for my relations. But any emotion that I'm uncomfortable with, the seed of that emotion is unmet expectations. As soon as I create an expectation, now whether it's to the weather, whether it's to a person, whether it's to a situation, now they're the master and I'm the slave. If I create an expectation that we chat in this studio for another hour and you ask me to finish in 10 minutes, that is going to create something.
I'm just about to tell you exactly that, but I really do want to hear it. I wish we had so much time because we can talk endlessly about this. You're quite right. Time is always limited, which is always a factor. I absolutely agree with you, and a very plausible notion indeed. And here, of course, listeners, this is a chat between myself and Sister Anya, and we do hope you take something out of it. But also, Sister Anya, can you talk a little bit about meditation itself? How do people get to meditation? Is there a particular way to start it? Is there in your environment, in your mindset? How do people start doing this, and how do you think they should practice? Like, is it 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day? What are your thoughts?
Yes. And so with meditation, what we do is we look at the facts of everything. We see things as they are. So when we were having this discussion about no expectations, no anger, meditation means that I come to this acceptance of my true self as a being who is never angry, which means always peaceful and always beyond expectations. So just this acceptance of this is who I am. I may live in a different perspective for 24 hours, but in meditation, let me come back to this. Let me accept my own truth, my own eternal truth for just 5 minutes. And so 5 minutes, I allow myself to look at myself, to look at who I am through these spiritual eyes, through these spiritual glasses. And as per the spiritual glasses, each and every being, each and every energy is always peaceful, doesn't need anything to expect, doesn't need anything, let's just put it that way, need nothing. That's the nature of who I am truly. So now when I look at myself in the context of what I'm doing, all the roles that I'm playing, all the responsibilities that I have, just for those 5 minutes, I look at myself in this world, in my office, in my family, in whatever I'm doing in this studio, as a guest visiting, as a visitor. So So I, the true being, I am beyond harm. I need nothing. I'm absolutely peaceful. I'm a master. I'm powerful. And in this world, in this role right now, I'm a guest. Just for 5 minutes, if I play with these ideas, eyes open or eyes closed, we can sit, however we want, very comfortably, just for 5 minutes. So completely allowing myself to look at myself and this world as a guest house. So when I say a guest house, then I don't own anything here. I don't own anyone here. So I'm not saying we do this forever, just for 5 minutes. And
this is why you said that you combine is with what we actually the Eastern philosophies.
Yes.
I would say these philosophies have been there for centuries across the world. I would say so. That's a beautiful invitation. But how do I come back to it if my mind was to wander? How do I control that?
When my mind wanders, it's because of all the expectations, and it's a whole another topic. But the seed of it is expectation. And for me to expect anything, I need to be convinced that I own you or I own this thing. So when I step into this fact of life, that I'm not permanent here, I'm on a journey. We always say we're all on a journey. Everyone's on a journey. And so someone who is on a journey means that they are travelers. Means that they are guests. They don't reside here. We all know that we have to leave at some time. And so when I have exit in my mind, then I'm able to approach all the people and all the scenes and all the relationships, even the relationship with my own body, for some time as a guest. And what happens when I look at everything as a guest? It makes me light, and contrary to what is believed, it makes me more responsible. When I remove that element of I own you, and so I can take you for granted. But for someone who I am visiting for the first time, we are very careful. I always give this example. From work, we get a laptop or a mobile phone, and we have our own mobile phone and laptop. Which device are we more careful with? The one that I don't own.
Sister Anya, I can't live without my phone. So
yes, but which phone are you more careful with?
It's my work phone, of course.
Yes, work phone.
Yeah.
Because I don't own it. So when we remove this aspect of not owning it, then expectations are zero. When expectations are zero, my mind doesn't need to wander. So coming back to this space again and again. One of the practices that we do here in the Raj Yoga meditation, it's called the traffic control of the mind. So meditation, not for 2 hours, 3 hours, or in a long stretch, or I do a 3-day retreat and then I come back to the way I was. But for every 1 hour, just for 5 minutes, let me look at every relationship, let me look at every responsibility as a guest, as someone who is completely aware that I have to leave, sometime. And so I'm not saying to have this awareness all the time, but just when I do that for 5 minutes, and then I step out of it and go to my remaining 55 minutes, it will completely change the game.
These are really very practical ideas and invitations, Sister Anya. Unfortunately, we do not have enough time. I feel like I do want to spend more time with you. So let's talk this chat outside this a little bit.
Sure.
I do believe this would be incredibly handy to our audience. And let's face, at the end of the day, people with high emotional intelligence are better at handling conflicts, communicate effectively, and building stronger relationships, as you pointed out so rightfully. So guess what? We all do jobs. It's even related to your job satisfaction, how well you do at your work as well. And you gave a fantastic invitation for everyone to start to practice meditation. I asked, is it mindfulness? And you were quite insistent. It's actually meditation. That's something that you really would want to find out. So we do ask our listeners to listen on, think about some of the ideas that's been given today, and please pause for a moment and think about the environment around you and make a first move towards having improved self-awareness and live a much better life. With that, I bid you farewell. This is Pri from Speak Your Truth Show. And Sister Ananya, I do hope that we continue this conversation a bit more.
Sure.
And thank you for coming on board today.
Thank you so much for having me.